يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Aisha Letu, and I'm delighted to welcome all of you to tonight's episode of You Who Believ. Please invite friends, family, and loved ones to join by sharing the link. I also invite you to save the date for the Man UK Global Conference scheduled for Saturday, September 6, 2025 at the East London Mosque, Whitechapel. For those who are unable to attend physically, you can still participate and make your donations. Kindly get in touch with the Secretariat for the link and account number. The donations have started to trickle in, but you can put in something into the account and watch it grow. The reference code is BOL. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all abundantly. Ameen. If you have some savings you are not precious to spend, why not invest it in our rebuild project? You'll get rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your money gets refunded on schedule. Our Qard Hassan campaign, which is an interest-free loan, is still on. For more details, please contact the President, Professor Badri, or Imam Tajuddin Salami. To be part of the Mosque Bucket Collection team, please contact Alaji Abdurrahman Amode. Our Jummah, As-Salatu, meetings, and other physical sessions are held at Central and Longford Estate Hall, Alscott Way, London, close to Old Kent Road, Tesco. On Friday, 5th of September, our Jummah service shall be held by His Eminence the Emir of Kano, Khalifa Mohammed Sanusi II, at the new Peckham Mosque, very close to Burgess Park. You are all invited. Register and be on our mailing list for the Ikhlas, our community e-magazine. Please join the Man UK Elders Group for every Muslim male and female who has reached the age of 50. The Kaf sisters meet every Friday to jointly recite Surah Al-Kaf and other selected prayers. The young sisters are welcome to join Man sisters. Allahu Latif brothers is especially for middle-aged men. Man UK Markaz currently operates from Aslatul Rahman Mosque, Record Street, off Ilderton Road, London. There's still time to enroll your kids at Man UK Markaz while slots are still available. You can contact Dr. Abdurrahim, the head of Markaz, or Alaja Koka, the education officer. I would now like to invite one of our Markaz students to read from the Holy Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يديه الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون. إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للتقوى لهم مغفرة وأجر عظيم إن الذين ينادونك من وراء الحجرات أكثرهم لا يعقلون.
Jazakallahu khairan. May Almighty Allah continue to increase your knowledge, bless your parents, and also your teachers. I would now like to hand over to our moderator for today, our father, Professor Badari. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Obviously, this is not Professor Moshood Badiri. My name is Shamsuddin Ogumoyiwa, and I welcome everyone for joining us today for yet another edition of Oh You Who Believ. Thank you very much, my sister, for starting us off. And thank you very much for our brother, our young brother, who has helped us by reciting the Quran to introduce us to today's session. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. We thank Allah. May Allah continue to bless our ummah. May Allah continue to bless all of you that you do make regular appearances here, regular attendance. So today is going to be one of those very lovely days where we are going to open our eyes to a lot of things that's going on. Recently, our sons and daughters, our young adults, they received their A-level results. And so they are preparing to go to universities or other higher institutions for their career and their progress. It's a lot of hard work that's got them to that stage, and a lot of hard work for those young people and for their parents and for their teachers. And we do commend all of them for all of the efforts that have achieved what has been achieved today. So what future lies ahead of them, especially the near future? As they go into university, many of them will be heading to the university for the first time. They'll be away from home. They will be leaving their parents behind. They will be taking on responsibilities of managing themselves, managing money, managing bills. So what sort of future lies ahead of them? And that's what we would like to discuss today. And inshallah, our panelists for today are young people who have also gone through that similar experience. So we would like to share, we'd like them to share that experience with us, with the parents, so you know what lies ahead of your younger ones, and also with these young ones. So before we even get started, if you know any young person who's just completed their A levels and they're making arrangements to go to universities, inshallah, this is a program for them. So please call them, send messages to those you know. Let them come and hear what their seniors, what their older ones have gone through. Let them come and advise you, because we benefit from the advice of generations before us, and we continue to build on the progress. We don't make mistakes that they've made. And that is what we want to hear today. What are the pitfalls? What are the success? Or how do you manage yourself when you get to the university? And so, inshallah, we have three of those young ones joining us today. I hope they're here. I've got Azizat, brother Abdul Muiz, and sister Ikrima. So, sister Azizat here, sister Ikrima, and brother Abdul Muiz. If you are there, please raise your hand so that you could be pulled into the panelist, so that you can be on the panelist. I've seen Sister Ikrima there. I've seen Azizat, and I've seen Abdul Muiz. Lovely. Alhamdulillah. If you put on your camera, so we can, yes, MashaAllah. Sister Ikrima, MashaAllah. Brother Abdul Muiz, welcome you all. Say salam alaikum to our viewers today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, Sister Ikram. Ikram. I kept calling you Ikrima. Ikram, Sister Ikram. Well done. Okay, so brief profile, and I'm not going to go into too much profile for everyone. So my sister Azizat Hassan is a graduate of Material Science Engineering from the University of Manchester. Welcome, Sister Azizat. And Brother Abdul Muiz Hussein Ajikonle is a graduate of Mathematics and Economics from the University of Aston. Say salam, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And finally, the third panelist is my sister Ikram Akintomide. She studied law at the University of Newcastle. Welcome, Sister Ikram.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So that's the panelists. And now we need to go through a few questions. If you can please always make your response short so that we can go around everybody and then we go on to the next question. And also for members of the audience, if you have questions while you are listening, please take note of your questions. We'll come back and take questions. And for those who would like to do sadaqah today, inshallah, we won't take too much time when it comes to getting some sadaqah from you. It's the end of the month, so please do some sadaqah, no matter how small. So we are going to ask you to please contribute some sadaqah to our fundraising of the masjid and in preparation for the big launch that we have on the 6th of September. Okay, so I'm going to go around you all. First of all, what were your expectations when you were going into the university? You know, all these young people now, they've passed the exam, they're highly excited. They have this dream, the expectations that they are going in there. So let us get into their frame of mind. What were your expectations when you were going? And when you were going to the university, and quickly, did you meet that expectation? Were there disappointment, or did you have to do some adjustment? So quickly, I'm going to start with Sister Azizat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So to answer the question to begin with, in terms of expectations, I think there's kind of two sides of it. There's the kind of academic side of it in terms of like, I guess for me personally, I was more on the academic side because I was very excited for my course specifically. So I was just kind of I was expecting that, okay, I'm going to go into this university and I'm going to learn like so much. And, you know, in school, you kind of have a lot of guidance of like your teachers are teaching you more. But I think in university, it's kind of different where your lecturers are more so, they are teaching you, but it's more giving you guidance to learn by yourself kind of thing, which I think I didn't fully expect before I went in and found out it was otherwise. And then in terms of the kind of social side, I think I definitely was expecting, you know, you'll meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds and things, but I don't think I was fully expecting just what a variety of people you might meet, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to keep it short. But yeah, if there are any other questions about that, I can.
Thank you very much for that. So it's you were expecting that the teaching style at secondary school, you're going to get something similar. Yeah, and that's brilliant because the university is a place where you have independent studies. They just guide you. You have to go and do your research. Thank you very much. Abdul Maiz, how was it? Your dream and expectation, and what did you meet?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First off, in terms of expectations, I think just as Ziza said, a lot of independence. I knew that it's like even like especially academics, but even being myself, knowing that I was going to move out from my home city, you know, being independent myself, having to take on all the lessons that I learned from home and being in the kitchen or being in the house, you know, having to cook for yourself, changing your own sheets, making sure that everywhere is neat and things like that, knowing that you've not got mom or dad to support you in terms of being physically there with you. So, you know, becoming an adult. So there's definitely that expectation. I think it definitely lived up to it. And a lot of life skills were gained in that sense as well. And I think also, I guess the opportunity for networking as well. I feel like I didn't expect the amount of networking opportunities that are available, but I think throughout university, you realize that it's something you have to go and seek yourself, whether it's through the university or through other different programs. But it's really what you make of university. It's like university is there, and it's how much you take out of it. There's lots of resources there, but it's whether that you utilize the resources that are available for you. So I don't want to keep it too long as well. So yeah, it's kind of the things that I expected.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Abdul Muiz. Um, Sister Ikram, I know you are a bit older than them. Still hope you can remember those days when you were going into the uni. You had your dreams, you had your expectations. What were these, and what did you meet at that time?
I mean, I was studying law, which is quite, I would say, and when you're in university, it's a very theoretical subject. So I think my expectation was, oh, I like English, I like theory, I'm good at writing. Like, first couple of assignments, we're all gonna ace it, we're gonna be amazing. And then in reality, the first couple of assignments, you actually do struggle because it's quite a jump from A levels that you don't realize until you actually get your feedback actually, because even while you're writing the assignment, you're like, yeah, I'm acing this. And then you get your feedback and you're like, okay, wow, this is a very big jump and this isn't necessarily what the lecturers are looking for. And then in terms of the social aspect, I'm quite an outgoing extroverted person, so I didn't really have any like fears or like qualms in that aspect. But I think one thing that did surprise me is how much effort you have to put into putting yourself out there. Like Abdul, he said, with networking or just socializing with your peers or your group members or even other societies and other, your roommates, your flatmates, for example, you have to make a lot of effort and sort of put yourself out there because like Abdul he said, it's what you put out, that's what you're going to get back from university because it's a very like independent time of your life, I would say. But it's also the time when you need probably the most guidance as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that. So how did you guys then overcome your challenges? So just into a bit more details, what did you have to do? How did you have to change your mindset? Did you, what guidance did you get to make you change so that you were focused, so that you quickly realign your dreams to to the reality, and that then led to you eventually being able to complete your studies? So yeah, how did you overcome your challenges into more practical areas now? Let me start with Abdul Muiz.
I think for me personally, something that I like to do in my life a lot is scheduling. I feel like that was something that was like life changing for me because I feel like before I tried to be I tried to be as productive like as I thought I could, but I feel like when I moved to university, I found myself going there kind of on my own. So I wasn't too fussed on making friends. 'Cause I know I had friends at home, so like I found myself like having a lot of free time. I went to the gym, but I go to the gym, but there's still so many hours left of the day, depending on the amount of lectures I had. So I realized I need to start making use of my time. So I started to schedule, and it's definitely something I recommend in terms of, you know, first off, you can write down what you want to get done within the day. Think about all the things all the tasks that you want to achieve, and that way you can list it out and then you can put into realistic time frames, as in maybe between 5 and 6 I'm reading my Quran, 6 to 7 I go for a walk, 7 to 8 I put in time for rest or watching Netflix or whatever you do in your free time, putting all that time there. And I feel like once I started to schedule, I woke up knowing I went to bed knowing what I was going to do, and I woke up knowing what I was going to do. It wasn't that it was like a rigid schedule, like I must stick to it, but at least it gave me a bit of a direction in the day. So I knew that I had something to do and I wasn't bored. And it definitely helped me academically as well in terms of making time to go to the library and study as well. So it benefited my life in every aspect. So I definitely recommend scheduling in terms of a way to make sure that you're using the best of your time and be productive as possible.
Okay, and that's one thing. And what tools did you use in your scheduling? Did you use your phone?
I'm quite old school. I just use pen and paper, honestly. I just like if you're more, I don't even know. I'm not tech savvy, but I just like when it comes to things like that, I just had to do it quite old school. So I just literally, I could find it for you if you wanted. I've got current ones, but just write a couple lines and you put a schedule, or you can use a calendar as well. But I prefer to write it, so you can do it on Word, Word is a good one, notes as well, but I'd say probably Word's your best bet. If you format a table and try, also, no, you can even find ready-made templates there as well, and you can fill in all the schedule the things that you want to put in your schedule, all your different tasks and activities.
Okay, thanks. Sister Ikram, yeah, how did you settle and what strategies did you adopt to make sure that you change things?
I think
Reality,
find,
yeah.
yeah, I think find where your student services are. Even if you're never going to go to them, you're never going to use them. Know where the building is, know who the people are that you need to contact, both for the university and your subject as well, because each subject will have their own like student services or like a point of call, and then the university will also have their own. So I think first week during Freshers Week, when you don't really have like necessarily a schedule or like lectures, find out where your student services are and who you can talk to if you need help. Because I think a lot of people, when they go into university and as university goes on as well, they underestimate the challenges that may face, and you're by yourself, things can just hit you out of nowhere and you're like, okay, how do I handle this? And the student services can provide a lot of help. They help with financial, educational, tutoring services, mental health, accommodation issues as well. So I would say find your student services, speak to your student services for your school as well. See when the office hours for your lecturers are, if you ever need to speak to them about work, if they have like a buddy system. A lot of universities or schools do have a buddy system. If it's not something that's compulsory, so something that they give to you, it's something that you can, you know, tap into. And if your school has a library as well, so for example, the law school did have a library, go to the librarians. They are very smart, they're very knowledgeable, they're very helpful when it comes to research, exam prep, assignments. So I would say find out where your student services are and who those people are that you can speak to if you do need help.
Thank you very much for that. And Aziza, so how did you turn your dream and expectation to reality?
I just want to first of all pick up on what was mentioned about kind of scheduling, because I think anybody that knows me knows I'm very big on like scheduling and planning out my life. One thing I know, I used this app called Notion a lot, and I'm sure anyone again who knows me is kind of like, oh, she's talking about Notion again. But basically, it's just an app where you can kind of build your own like system and just organize stuff. And there's a lot of like different templates that you can find. So that's something I would personally recommend, although it can kind of get a lot. But then talking about the kind of uni aspect specifically now is, I think, just as was mentioned by both of our other panelists, definitely, I think making use of the many resources that are available from like the student services to also definitely like your lecturers and stuff. And I think probably one of the biggest things I would say is kind of trying to build a rapport with your lecturers. And also, I think a lot of unis you tend to have an academic advisor, so just kind of like talking to them, going to whatever sessions, and so you kind of have people to ask questions to, but it also benefits you in the long term. So after you've like left uni, or if you're applying for like apprenticeship for internships and things like that, having that kind of report with your lecturers and the kind of academic staff can help you, because they can kind of provide you with references, and they'll have a lot more kind of good things to say about you, which can be very beneficial, I think. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Sister Ikram, I would like to start with you and ask about, did you see people who failed and why did they fail? Because we need to learn from the failures as well as success. Okay, we'll continue with the success, but let us just look at failures so that these young people and their parents can be aware of what can lead to failure. And I would like you all to give examples of people who fail and why they fail, what led to their failure.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's black and white. When I first started in first year, we were a cohort of 320. And by the end of the first week, we had dropped down to like 200 people because people had already decided after the first week that law wasn't necessary for them, or, they wanted to try something else, or they just didn't enjoy it. And alhamdulillah, like I never failed any module or any exams, but I know brilliant girls, bright girls, some of my friends who maybe failed a module and they had to retake it, or I know one girl who failed the entire year. So it's not like exactly like, oh, they didn't study or they didn't revise. One thing that I know people struggled with especially in first year, was with the content. And a lot of the people who struggled the most were the people who didn't ask for help. People think that, oh, university, you're by yourself, the lecturer tells you what to do, or like gives you a guide and you go off and do it. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. Lecturers have office hours where you can go in every week. They have office hours every week where you can go in and speak to them. You can ask them, questions about the course, and no question is too small or dumb. Lecturers like to hear themselves talk. You'll be surprised if you go in maybe thinking it's going to be a 20 minutes conversation, you come out, it's been an hour. um, Office hours as well, and they didn't do maybe the extra reading. I think that was a thing that used to catch people out a lot, at least for my subject. What an older student had actually said to me was that everything that is covered in the lecture is covered in your textbook. Like, you don't necessarily, where you get the marks, where you get the points is the extra reading, is any external resources that you've gone and done, any independent, articles or studies or cases that you have read that are similar to maybe what we're studying, but it's not exactly what's being mentioned in the lecture. And that shows that you're doing wider reading. It makes your arguments, stronger, and it makes your viewpoints and your overall essays a lot more holistic, because they do still want to see both sides. And so I would think those were the two main things, not necessarily speaking up and asking for help when they were struggling, either from lecturers or even your peers, because your peers as well can be very, very helpful, especially when it comes to studying, because there may be times where you might not necessarily be understanding something and you've gone to the lecturer, they've explained it to you again, you still don't get it. Having people around you who are on the same course, doing the same subject, learning the same material, and just talking it out with them can be very helpful. Or older students as well. A lot, you might have a most schools will maybe have a like subject rep for that entire school, and it tends to be like an older student or a PhD student as well. Going to them, speaking to them, because they would have done the same modules. The content might be different, but they've done the same modules as well. So I would say those were the two things, maybe not necessarily doing the extra reading and not asking for help either.
Thank you very much for that. And because you mentioned lecturers and lectures, someone's just asked, are the lectures always recorded?
Yes, so I think it is a law in the UK that every single lecture has to be recorded. So you can watch back your lectures. How the school plays it back to you, I think probably differs, but you should be able to watch back your lectures. I would always say it's best to attend the lectures in person, because if you don't attend them in person, it's very unlikely that you're going to watch them back. And it's just something extra for you to do if you don't attend them in person. It's better to be there in person, getting the knowledge in. But you have something called seminars or small groups, or I think like lab groups in other courses, which are smaller groups. Those don't tend to be recorded. And so I would say always attend your small groups and your seminars, because again, that's extra reading, extra marks.
Okay, thank you. I want to go to Azizat. Did you see anybody failed? What led to these failures?
So I think first of all, just going back to what Ikram just mentioned about like attending your lectures, because I don't know about like failure specifically, but depending on the type of person you are, I know a lot of people who just did not attend their lectures at all, and it just makes it a lot harder later on when it comes to maybe exam season, because then you end up with a lot of content that you kind of have to catch up on. And again, as was mentioned, it's kind of a thing where being in person, it also allows you to kind of ask more questions and kind of contribute to the learning experience dynamically. And then in terms of like failure, I'm actually going to kind of use myself as an example. But alhamdulillah, I think it worked out in the end for me. But due to like, I'll say like mental health, quote unquote, struggles, it wasn't necessarily directly academic, but it was kind of external stuff. I did eventually have to take a course interruption in between. And I remember kind of feeling like, oh, like I've let myself down, like I've kind of let everyone down. But alhamdulillah, I ended up like obviously going back to uni, did the year. And then I think for me, it kind of ended up being an opportunity, for example, because if I had not taken that course interruption and done my second year at the time I did, I would have missed an opportunity for uh, an internship, like a summer internship in Canada, which I ended up doing. So even though for me it started as a thing that was like, oh, like I've missed this thing, it ended up bringing me a lot of benefit. And because I did that internship, I ended up getting an offer for a master's in Canada through that. So I think it's kind of a mixture of things between, number one, if you do feel like you are struggling with things, I think I did benefit a lot from kind of, having that support, like was mentioned, talking to the student services, seeing what your options are kind of thing. And then also, even aside from that, it's like, okay, even when you have been kind of deterred from what you kind of expected the like series of events to be, it's kind of making the most of your different opportunities. So for example, during my course interruption, I made sure to I was working with like a company that was kind of related to what I wanted to be doing. And in the end, that's like stuff like that ended up helping me to get that internship. And it's kind of just being aware that yes, there are like points where it can feel like you might have failed, quote unquote, but it can actually be like an opportunity. And it's just about how you kind of see it and make the most of it, and kind of just believing in Allah and knowing that like he knows what he's doing kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Alhamdulillah. Abdul Muiz, your point of reference as well for failure and what happened.
I think in terms of failure, I feel like one of the most common things I noticed was the fact that I feel like people started too late in terms of like we'll be in like week 6 or week 7, and that's when you want to start interacting with the content, telling yourself, "Oh, I missed these lectures." And as the girls man both mentioned, like very correctly, that a lot of time people just don't attend lectures. Some people like when it's exam day, that's the first time you're seeing a lot of people on your course. Well, for me particularly, it'd be the first time. In my course, well, just as Ikram mentioned, I had our cohort was really small, anyways, since it was maths. A lot of people don't tend to do maths, and after the first exam period, I think we'd halved just because people had either failed or just realized that the course was too hard for them. But even besides that, and for general courses, I feel like a lot of people that struggled was the fact that they didn't interact enough with the content, whether not attending or they're telling themselves they're going to attend later. The thing is that as the weeks go on, it's an extra lecture to watch. It's more content to catch up on, and the power becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, and you've got so much to catch up on. So for me, I'm just like I'm a weird person. Like I could be late, but I don't like to miss things. So like I would mind being late. I'm not gonna recommend being late to a lecture, but I'd rather be late to a lecture than not attend at all. Like I'd always say, attend your lectures as much as you can. Like I've been in a lecture before where it's me and another person for the whole hour lecture. Like that's the type of course my course was. But um, I'd always recommend attending lectures. And even if you've missed it, plan to make sure that you can catch up with it. That way, at least you can still catch, because obviously you don't have lectures every day of the whole week, so that you definitely do have a lot of free time to catch up for it. So I think definitely that, and also if you are struggling, definitely use the resources we've all said, especially office hours. Office hours was something that I really benefited from, especially from certain of my modules where I know like on multiple occasions I had modules I was really struggling with. And if it wasn't for office hours, like from modules where like I was horrible at it to like, attaining one of the highest grades in my class or in that period when I'm definitely not. And I think another one as well, I think the girls mentioned as well, I think you might supposed to mention it. I think it was what's it called? Asking questions. For me, I love to ask questions. I don't mind like a question's not silly to me. Obviously, you can definitely ask silly questions, but I think in the place of education, I don't think any lecture, any questions silly. I think even imams were told that the one who wants to seek knowledge, the shy one will never seek knowledge. You have to be confident, and you have to go and seek knowledge physically, and be confident that there's no benefit in being shy in the place of knowledge. So asking that question, I didn't mind that. I'd ask even if the teacher repeated it. I wouldn't mind asking it again, because I knew it's my education. They're not gonna be paying my student debt for me. They're not gonna get my grade for me. So it's me on my own. So I didn't mind if the class was that. And you'd even find, which is I'm sure people will know as well, that when you ask a question, you're not the only one that wants to know that question too. You might have asked a question and everybody else wanted to ask the question, but they're too scared to. So be that person that will ask that question, no matter how little or how silly it is. But I think just in general with failure, it definitely was common across modules, but I felt like it was just first off not putting enough effort into and interacting late, and also not seeking the appropriate help. The resources are there. Also, as I said before as well, it's up to you to utilize it or not. But yeah.
Thank you very much. My sister was playing up a little bit. My system was playing up a little bit, but Alhamdulillah, I'm there now. I want to go. I want to ask about loneliness because I've heard quite a lot about many people not realizing how lonely it can be in today's world, especially when they're away from home. When you're at home, you're surrounded by family, but when you go to uni, sometimes you're the only one in the room or two of you in the room, and the two people you have different kind of program for the day. And so, how do you deal with loneliness? Let me come back to Azizat.
So I think probably for me the biggest thing is definitely like societies and kind of engaging with the wide variety of extracurriculars that a lot of unis tend to kind of offer. So if it's like a sports club, like I think I did like taekwondo, I was part of the acapella society. It's like the Nigerian society, even your Islamic society, being involved in things like that, because it just allows you to not only meet new people, like make friends who you can then maybe make plans with, and etc. etc. But it also helps with like your personal development, and it just lets you kind of, it helps you to just kind of better yourself whilst also battling that kind of side of loneliness. But I think even with all of that said, there's only an extent to which you can like go to a bunch of different events and da da da, because at the end of the day you have to still come back to your room and it's just you there. Obviously it's a bit different if you're, for example, living with friends, which I know a lot of people tend to do, especially from like second year onwards, although I think that can have its own issues in some senses, depending on like kind of who you're with. But I think definitely a big part is just kind of, as was mentioned, having a sort of routine for yourself. I feel like is something that's very important, because a lot of the time, if it's like you don't really know what you're doing with your day, and you've just come back and you're just like sitting in your room and you're just kind of like, it can kind of make the loneliness feel a lot heavier, versus if say you've come back and you know, okay, when I've come back now, I'm going to do my night routine, or I'm going to do my skincare, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to do something kind of for myself, where it's like you're alone but you're not necessarily lonely because you're doing things and you're looking after yourself, if that makes sense, which I think can be very, very beneficial.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Moise, do you have anything to add to that question?
I think I'd say personally, it was interesting for me in a sense. I say first off, in terms of being social, um, with my own university path, I'd gone to a university. I'd gone to my insurance university, and I was meant to go to one with my friend without. I was meant to go with my friend to our firm, university, but we both didn't end up getting in. Like our grades were, they were, they weren't what we wanted. Like they were good, but it wasn't what we needed to get into the university. So we both ended up going to different universities. So I was then going to university on my own, and it was a city that I wasn't expecting. I knew like one or two people, but we weren't really close friends like that. So, bottom line, I knew that I was going on my own. And at that point in my life, I felt like I didn't want to make any more friends. Or if I did, it wouldn't. I wasn't really searching for friends. So I feel like I wasn't trying to search for friends too much. And I feel like I eventually had to come to that conclusion that I just needed to, because I was going to be on my own. So I like there's only so long you can spend with yourself. So definitely societies, as Ziza mentioned. For me, I think the ISOC was really, really life changing for me. I'll say I met a lot of good brothers. I feel like before, maybe in Manchester, I didn't have as many Muslim friends, and I think knowing I was going to a city like Birmingham, I knew that I'd find a lot of Muslims there. And boys are quite easy. I know girls are a bit more difficult, but boys, we just played football with the ISOC, and I met most of my friends that I still talk to now, just from football. Like it's as easy as that. Like we met for football, and we'd meet in the prayer room, especially on Ramadan. Ramadan was a really good time to meet people. Like I always used to meet the most people during Ramadan. So definitely societies. For me, it was mainly the ISOC. And when you like also knowing when to say yes to a certain event and not to, like sometimes your friends will want to go out. Don't be alone, and just sometimes say yes, sometimes say no as well. There's time to say no and say yes, but also taking your time to say yes, because you might meet another person that day. If there's an opportunity, there's a little trip or a little class or something to enter. Like I met a lot of people in Birmingham, and quite a few of them were even from university. It could be a friend of a friend. to the point where you become friends based on a friend of a friend. So I'd say in terms of social, definitely, societies and also classroom as well. Class is a bit different depending on the type of course you are. My course wasn't the greatest, but in terms of social, but I definitely did make quite a few friends in that. I think also one that's a bit underrated is in enjoying your own company. I feel like up until I think maybe COVID, but I think university as well was it gave me opportunity to really enjoy my own space. Like I felt like I like to be in the company of people a lot prior, but throughout being in university, I was able to enjoy time on my own. Whether it's simply just relaxing or watching something, or going to the gym or working, things like that. Just enjoying yourself and really being a friend of yourself as well. That way, you can develop on yourself. And, you're not too reliant on people and you can grow as a person. You're constantly wanting to develop. And as Vivian mentioned well and Preview mentioned as well, like definitely classes. I feel like attending different classes and just different resources that are around you as you keep yourself more occupied. Like I know I've got this class at that time. I know got that class at that time. So it's like it even got to points I was so busy where I didn't even have time to meet friends because I was so busy and I loved it. I felt productive. I felt useful. I was happy that I didn't feel like I was missing out. So I think it's all about balance really, having time for yourself, but also having time for others as well. So I think that's what my MC experience was like.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Sister Ikram, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, No, not necessarily anything much. I would say, similar to what Sister Aziza and Brother Abdul Rahiz have said, utilize your societies. There are a bunch of societies at university. Any hobby, skill, game, TV show you can think of, there's probably a society for it. And it's just an opportunity for you to meet people who have similar interests to you or maybe like-minded. And especially during that fresher period, during Freshers Week societies are putting on events after events back to back. Majority of them are free because they want to attract new members. So I would say, during Freshers Week, really take use of those free events, even if it's just, to have like maybe a free item. A lot of them put on food as well, which is a good way to go out and, meet people because everyone's happy when they're eating. And in terms of meeting friends on your course, I was quite strategic with this. What I would do is I would turn up to my lectures early before the lecturer had come in so that I could, introduce myself to people, speak to people. And by doing that, alhamdulillah, like I formed a really like good, solid group of like friends that I had that carried me till the end of my university, which was very alhamdulillah, it turned out to be important because second year, a majority of my first year ended up being during a lockdown. And then I would say is just remember that yes, there will be times where you will be alone, even if you have like 10,000 friends. There will be times where you'll be alone, whether you have to, when it's exam period or your roommates or your flatmates or if people are just busy. But you have to remember that even though you may feel lonely, you're not necessarily alone because you still have Allah. And during those periods, maybe where you are by yourself and you are maybe feeling a bit isolated, that would be the best time probably to, open up the Quran, make dua, or, make some dhikr, listen to a lecture, and just as well focus on building that connection with Allah while you're building a connection with other people as well.
Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Now, the question I was going to ask, which I'm coming to ask, just to give you a heads up, is what do you consider the role of parents? How can they help and how are they not helping? So, but while you're thinking about that, because you guys also mentioned friends, I would like to know how can peer pressure really uh, bring negativity into someone's life at the university? Um, how easy is that, and what can or what should our young people do to avoid being peer pressured into certain activities that might bring the downfall or distract them, and other distractions as well? So this time around, I'm going to start with Abdul Muiz.
Thank you. I think it's quite an interesting one. I'd say in the sense that peer pressure, I personally don't believe is necessarily a bad thing. I think it just depends. So say I'll start with a positive in the sense that you might be peer pressured to do something that's like beneficial for you. Um, in terms of in terms of if you're around someone who's going to tell you, you know what, let's go pray, bro. Let's go pray at the mosque. you might not necessarily get that before. You might have not had friends that will tell you to do that. Oh, bro, let's go read the Quran or something like that. And naturally you'll start molding and becoming like them. So it's definitely, who you're surrounding yourself by, surrounded by people that you want to be like. I know the hadith of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Muslim or the believer is the mirror of the other believer. So, naturally, if you're around people that hold a good image, you'll you'll want to imitate them, and you want to be like them as much as you can. So definitely, if you've got that good people, if you've got the good characters around you, then then definitely it'll be beneficial for you and something for you to benefit from. So definitely, I think peer pressure is not necessarily a bad thing depending on who you're around, but I guess the negative aspect of it, definitely it can come across in uni, but I think first off, I'd say first knowing yourself and knowing, I guess, as your parents say, the house that you came from, which house that you came from, who your family is, your dad is, your mom is, you're holding that family name. So, you want to make sure that you're keeping, that you're holding your family's name as high as possible and giving it as much, reverence, or giving it as much honor as possible. So, and, knowing who you are as well, whether, and most importantly, being your faith as well, that you're a Muslim brother or sister. So, you have certain values and qualities. Not to say, obviously, ideally, you want to have as many Muslim friends as possible, but obviously, it's not haram for you to be friends with non-Muslims. But it's definitely about setting your boundaries, especially from the beginning, knowing, okay, bro, I'm not gonna go to the club, I'm not gonna drink, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. And you'll find it that a lot of them are quite understanding in that they'll be like, okay, if we're going to this place, then we're not going to call them as, oh, we're not going to call Aziza, we're not going to call it Akram. We don't know. They'll just know that we're not going to do that because they know that we're not that type of people. So setting those boundaries from the get go, and as I said, also knowing yourself, sometimes it requires a lot of strength as well. Because it definitely is a bit daunting in the sense that, if there's six people and you're one of them and you're the only one that has the opposing opinion, naturally, if five people are leaning towards something, you'll want to just follow them because it's the easy option. But it's not easy option. It's the hard option in the long run, and you just don't know it yet. So definitely being able to tell yourself that this is a no, I'm not gonna do this. Having that confidence in yourself, like, guys, I'm gonna leave now. Like, it's fine, have fun, but that's just not for me. So it takes a lot of strength and courage. But I think a really good way to try and benefit yourself in that way is having your clean, having that certainty in Allah and in your deen, building your iman as much as possible, knowing about your religion as well. Because by the way, just because I'm saying non-Muslim, it doesn't mean that not you can have Muslim friends that influence you. It's not you'd hope the best for your Muslim brother and sister, of course, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't if it's exclusive to non-Muslims. But you being the leader in the friendship, it doesn't necessarily mean you take control of everything, but also you leading in the sense of what you be that person that peer pressures into positive, into higher, lead people into that example, reminding people, as much as you can, in the Quran, for any of the content for them, reminding people so that's because it's beneficial for them, making sure that you're being that leader and being the trailblazer. That way you can like pressure people in a positive way, and having that strength to say no when things that are not beneficial or things that don't align with your character. So definitely knowing yourself, setting boundaries, and being really particular with the friends that you have. I know the hadith of the Prophet. I can't really think of it right now. But the English of it, anyways, is that the friend, the believers on the religion of his friend. So you should be particular on the friend that you have, because you're following the deen of your friend. So making sure that the deen of your friend is correct, not even necessarily just being Islam, but just in terms of their character, the akhlaq, type of person that you want to be. Is that type of Do you think that person's the type of person that you want to be with? Because they're the one that will lead you either to khair, or they're gonna lead you to evil. So making sure that you're particular with that. But I hope I didn't take too much time, but that's my
Thank you.
observations.
Thank you very much for that. Sister Ikram?
I think just similar to what Abdul Muhi said, I think it's very important at university that you are your own advocate. And when I say you're your own advocate, I don't necessarily mean that you have to respond every time or be the loudest in the room. Sometimes it can just be walking away, or sometimes it can just be not even responding, not even giving an answer. I remember because my course, there was barely any Muslims, let alone, people of color on my course. And I remember I had one friend who would always, always, always invite me out she would invite me out to go out with her. When I would turn up, she would be like, oh, let's go to this place. It's a bar, it's a pub. So then eventually, I think after the first time it happened, we ended up eating at a restaurant instead because I told her that I can't, I'm not entering a pub and I'm not entering a bar. But each time we would go out, she just thought maybe that I needed to be notified. So she'd still invite me out, but then she'd now be like, oh, we're going to this place. I'd search it up. It would be a pub or a bar. And eventually I just stopped responding to her messages. I would still speak to her when I saw her in lectures. If she asked me about just something else, like in general or unrelated to a bar or pub, I would respond to her. But when she specifically asked me to meet up, and if she wanted to meet up to a bar and a pub, I would ignore those messages. And then eventually she did get the hint, and I didn't even realize that she was picking up on my cues, because I remember there was one day um she went out and I was like, oh, like, when was this? Like, when did you guys plan this? And she actually replied to me being like, I didn't invite you because I noticed that whenever I say, let's go out, when it comes to like a pub or going to a bar or a place where there's alcohol, you don't respond. So she had actually, picked up on my behavior and actions without me having to actually like explicitly tell her over and over again. And she had respected that decision. So I think it's really important at universities, just be your own advocate with your words if you need to, and also with your actions, and also within yourself. Like Abdulmuni said, it's sometimes about having boundaries. Like if there's an event, for example, going on, and there may be alcohol or maybe a lot of free mixing that you don't want to partake in, you know, it's just better to stay at home. You don't have to go to that event.
Thank you very much. Sister Azizat, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I'll probably just start with a kind of, I guess, story, quote unquote. I remember just when I first went into uni first year, I think I had just moved into my accommodation, and I was kind of meeting because it was a shared private accommodation. So I was just talking to like the other people, the other students that were living there. And one of them kept on asking me, they were like, oh, so like, do you drink? Like, do you smoke? And I just kind of looked and I was like, no, I'm Muslim. And then he's like, oh, well, I mean, I know a lot of Muslims who, still drink, who do still smoke, whatever. And I kind of just brushed it off as like, well, that's not me. And you'd be surprised how many people will look at me wearing hijab and will still ask, oh, like, oh, are you down to like go to a pub, or oh, let's go clubbing, kind of thing. So it's like a thing where you might think that, okay, even the way I present myself, it should be obvious. But like I said, there are a lot of people, whether it might be a thing where maybe they just genuinely don't realize. Because like I said before, people come from a lot of different like backgrounds. There might be people who maybe haven't ever met like a practicing Muslim before, for example, or they might just not understand what exactly your boundaries are. So I think, as was mentioned previously, it's kind of like making it very, very clear and having it within yourself and kind of knowing what your identity is and who you are, and being able to kind of maintain that. And I think separately as well, it's like when you're talking about societies and things, like I know a lot of the times in society events with my university, um a lot of, say you would go for like an event, like a generic event, they tend to have socials after, or even a lot of, I know like the sports societies do. So for example, after like a taekwondo session, they'll be like, okay, we're going to like this pub, or we're going down here as a social to try, just kind of have everybody get to know each other. And I know a lot of the time it can easily feel like, oh, like you're in this kind of group of people and now they're going to do something, and it's like you have to just cut, you have to just go, because that's not where you are. Like that's not your space, basically. Which I feel like it can sometimes feel maybe like you're being left out or isolating yourself. But honestly, I think it's very, very worth it, because in the end, it also kind of shows to you that you have your boundaries, but also shows to those people that, okay, this is the type of person this person is. And then I think also, I don't know if this was already mentioned, but like kind of being the person to suggest like alternatives, for example. So I know for me, I was in the committees of quite a few different societies, and even when we're having like committee meetings and things like that, and people are talking about, okay, we're having this event and then we'll have a social after, it's kind of, if you are able to, if you're somebody who feels comfortable putting yourself in that kind of like position of leadership, it's very, very beneficial, because then you can be kind of the person to say, okay, can we maybe hold this social in a different venue or somewhere that they're not like serving alcohol as like the main thing. And kind of it can also help you to create your own safe space, but then it can also help you to create safe spaces for other people. And also, you'd be surprised, even non-Muslims, there are people who aren't necessarily Muslim, but they won't drink, whether it's maybe for like, I don't know, health reasons or just personal reasons. And I think it's very easy to kind of look at it and think, oh, like I have all of these limits, quote unquote, because, you know, I'm Muslim, I don't go to the pub, blah, blah, blah. But it's not really a limit. It's just about like who you are and what your boundaries are. And you'd be surprised how many people will actually appreciate that. So I think it's kind of like, number one, kind of knowing within yourself who you are, that kind of thing. And then also being able to make spaces and be the one to suggest alternatives, if that makes sense. And don't like assume that everybody just knows.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been an amazing session. I will want us to take a break. When we come back, we're going to address the issue of the parents and any other questions any of our guests, viewers would like to ask you. It's an amazing. I will go back to watch this again, and we'll be sharing this video with a lot of parents and the young ones. You have been a very amazing panel. Thank you. So let's take a quick break. Then we'll come back to the final questions and other questions that will be asked, and then donation.
Alhamdulillah, alheri baya yawa baya kaɗan wajen taimako domin gina ɗakin Allah. Ƙungiyar Musulunci Najeriya da ke ƙasar London, wato Old Cat Road Mosque, na farin cikin gayyatar al'umma zuwa taro na musamman domin ƙaddamar da gidauniya na tara kuɗi pounds miliyan 3 don gina ɗakin Allah. Uban taro a ranar mai martaba sarkin Kano, wato Dr. Sheikh Khalifa Muhammad Sanusi na biyu. Don haka ƙungiyar ke gayyatar manya-manyan 'yan siyasa, 'yan kasuwa, shugabanni, malamai, sarakuna da kuma wato profesoci a kowane bangare. Taron, wanda za a gudanar a ranar Asabar 6 ga watan Satamba shekara 2025, wajen taro masallacin East London lamba 82 zuwa lamba 90 E11JQ hanyar Whitechapel da ke London, daga misalin karfe 10 na safiya zuwa karfe 4 na yammaci. Mai jawabi a ranar Professor Isiaq Oloyede CONCFR, sakataren kungiyar Islama ta Najeriya, wanda kuma shine shugaban hukumar JAMB ta ƙasa. Professor Sheikh Abdulhakim Murab, mai kwalejin Cambridge Muslim. Dr. Muhammad Wajid Akhtar, sakataren kungiyar musulunci da ke Turai. Councilor Yasmin Dar, tsohon shugaba a Manchester City Council. Dr. Abdulhakim Abdullatif, Honorable Yekwe, babban limamin masallacin majalisar jihar Lagos. Haka kuma za ku haɗe da Professor Mashud Baderi daga makarantar wayar da kai na Afirka da ke London, babban mazaunin malamin Islama na wato kungiyar ta addinin Islama da ke kasar UK. Babban shugaban taro a ranar Mr. Abdul Jalil Oladejo, wato honorable, wanda yake shine shugaban kungiyar Najeriya a UK. Wannan dama ce na taimaka wajen gina ɗakin Allah domin samun babban rabo a ranar kiyama wajen sakamako da aljanna. Don ƙarin bayani za ku iya tuntuɓar shugaban kwamitin shirye-shirye Professor Ismail Adelokpo a kan lambar waya kamar haka: 07-903-34-958, ko kuma ku tuntube su ta shafin su na yanar gizo secretariat@manuk.org. Taimaka don gina masallacin Orchard Road da kuma cibiyar kula da al'adu da ke London. Mu gina garinmu a yau domin amfanin gobe.
Thank you very much. And that is all about our masjid, about donating to make sure that we get the necessary fund to get our mosque built, and we can go back in there and continue the great work that the organization is doing for the Ummah, towards our children, towards the youth, towards the elderly, and towards service for Islam. If you contribute to it, Allah will reward you abundantly, of course. Now, time is really gone. I know it's Maghrib already in London, so let us round up with the question: how can parents help? And what are they doing that is not helpful? Let us use this to round up this beautiful discussion. So I'm going to start with Sister Ikrima. Oh, sorry, Ikram.
Um, I think the first thing is for both parents and children is to sort of either not disregard all of the expectations that they have for university is but to sort of just like limit them. I think when you're starting something new, especially if you've been in education from beginning to end, so primary, nursery, all the way up to A levels, you have sort of these like expectations, especially if you're someone who's always like performed well or always been like smooth sailing throughout, you going with expectations and your parents going with expectations. So I think the first thing is for parents especially to limit the expectation so that they can go at the child's pace because every child is different. Some people go to university, they get everything straight away, they slot right in, and they're just hitting home run after home run. And then other people go to university, they might, get everything right away, but then they might have a bump later on, you know, things can happen. That's what I would say. Things that you maybe never even thought about happening can happen to you, to people around your child that can also affect your child because your child is by themselves and they're trying to like navigate all these new emotions, new settings, and a completely new environment. So I would say go at the child's pace. And to go at the child's pace, you often have to listen more and advise less. I think as humans, we are very quick to, once someone comes with us with a problem or an issue, our first instinct is to fix it, is to say, okay, how can we do X, Y, and Z? But sometimes, not in every case, that advice, at least at that moment, is needed. It's more of, okay, this is the issue that I'm facing. Can you please listen to me first? And then, when I'm in the right headspace or when I've got my bearings or we've thought out different types of resources and options, then we can help fix the problem together. And yes, I would just say also keep yourself available to your children. One of my brothers in university, sometimes I will text him, he will not text back. I'll call him, he might not call. But just don't let that deter you. Don't say, oh, they're having fun. Don't say, oh, they're having fun, or they're out with their friends. I'm not going to disturb them. I don't want to disturb them if they're in the library. No, keep texting, leave voicemails, even if they just see that missed call on their phone, that you were thinking of them, that you were asking after them. That is always reassuring, and it keeps those channels open for communication, so they won't feel completely isolated and alone and abandoned if they do need to come to you for something.
Thank you very much. We quickly move on to Sister Aziza.
Yes, so I think I definitely agree a lot with what Sister Ikram has just said. And I think for me, the biggest thing definitely is communication. I know for me, I've always been maybe a bit overbearing with my family. Like I'm FaceTiming them almost every single day. But even though, everybody's busy, the like student might be busy with, whether it's socializing or going to lectures, blah, blah, blah. And also you as a parent will have your own things going on, like your work, all of that. But I think definitely, especially if your child is living away from home, you'd be surprised how much they will miss their family, their parents, siblings, that kind of thing. So just kind of like, even if it's not to talk about anything in particular, if you just remember, oh, like, I'm just thinking of my child, just send them a message, like call them, and you, even as the child yourself, like just, if you think of your parents, just send them like a message, because I think it can also help, even if you're just talking about just anything, whatever it is. If you want to tell them, oh, like, oh, I met this really interesting person in my lecture this one day, or if you're really like, if you like doing that, maybe you want to tell them about, oh, like, I learned this really cool thing in my lectures this one day, that kind of thing. Just maintaining that kind of rapport and kind of having that relationship where you feel like your parents are almost like another like source of friendship almost, I think is very, very important. And I think it also helps to kind of keep the child grounded and like keep the person grounded and remembering like where you came from and kind of remembering what your upbringing is. And it will also help you with like a lot of like with just a lot of things basically. So I think definitely communication is the biggest thing.
Thank you. And Brother Abdul Muiz.
I think it's just really echo of what the sister said. I feel most definitely communication for like it's very common that it might be that you communicate at home, but when they're away, you don't wanna you feel like you want to disturb them, or if not, simply you might just forget about them. And I feel like kids or people at university, you can act as cool as you want, but sometimes you just do miss your parents. It might just be the case, or you wished, or you tell yourself you don't care, they don't call, but deep down you wouldn't mind if they called. So I think definitely a lesson for parents is trying to make time for your child. I know life is busy for you. I don't doubt that in at least for 1 second, but to most definitely making time for your child, even if it's simply, every Wednesday, every Friday that we're gonna call. It doesn't mean that you need to call every day. Like some parents, you might want to call them every day, and that's just the way you are. It might be another parent where you call them once a week, and that dad's gonna tell mom how I am, or mom's gonna tell dad how I am, and you speak to either them once a week or one more frequently. But definitely having that constant relationship because it goes a long way, and like it's a way for you to even develop your relationship as being away from each other can absence can make the heart go fond as they say. So being further away from them, it's a chance for you to even develop your relationship and even cultivate new habits in your relationship. So if you do come back home or if you do see each other, you've got new things to talk about, and your relationship can really develop in that sense. So I think definitely parents, communicating and also, being very understanding. Sometimes university isn't really easy. Like, it just isn't easy in the sense that, like, whether it's academic or social, your child might come with different queries, and you know, it can be easy to judge or shout at them, and you'll find it like it's quite scary that a lot of parents really don't know what's going on with their kids' lives, and they only really have themselves to blame. If you provided that platform for your child to speak where they didn't feel judged, especially as they get older. I know naturally as you're younger, you want to tell them off, but as they get older, you want to change that parent and that parent relationship into more of a friendship. It doesn't mean that we talk to you as a friend, but it definitely means that we can talk to you about more things, more personal. There are a certain age, it's not about telling off, it's about how we can make solutions, giving that advice because naturally you just find it. If I know I'm going to get shouted at, I'm probably not going to talk to you about certain things. So I just know I'm not going to talk to you about it, and I'm sure you know about it too. So if you don't provide that platform for your child, they won't speak to you. And especially in the university lab, a lot of things will go on, and things that if you knew that were going on, you'd probably want to know if those happen with your child. So definitely providing that platform for them to be vulnerable with you and speak, and you'll be able to see how far it goes with them. You'll be like, I'll be honest, there's lots of things that go on in university. So, be prepared for as much as you can, but have a lot of sabr and patience with your child. So it definitely does get hard, but you can only help. Of course, Allah is the one is the only true help. But at least as a parent, you're their first guide, their first source of help. So, making sure that you provide that platform for them, making them feel comfortable.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, stay that.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I will want to go and see if there's any questions, but I will come back to you for your final comments, okay? Your final takeaway before we leave here today. So I can see hands up. And while we're taking questions, if you also have donation, please donate. It is the end of the month, as I said. Your children have passed their GCSE, A levels. Do shukr. Thank Allah. Donate to thank Allah. Some people are having marriage. Some people are having all sorts of great things. Graduation. Thank Allah. Donate to thank Allah. So, first of all, Sister Ajia Molkat Ibrahim, your hands up.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, I want to thank all the panelists. It's really been a very inspiring and a learning curve for me. It's a good session. I just have a question to ask. Considering the fact that, first of all, you're all Muslims and the girls have the scarf on, the uniform of Islam, did you at any time experience racism or Islamophobia? And if you didn't, did you by any chance see or hear of anybody who experiences, and what was the outcome? And how can you advise anybody, any of our young people who might be going into university and may have the potential, may potentially experience any of this? Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for that. Let me take the hands from Mr. Wale Hassan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
I actually thought I'll let it go because of time, but notwithstanding, I'll make it very brief. Talking of failure, you see, sometimes it's going to be a very sad experience if one fails. But the truth is that if you pick the message, the lesson in failure, it helps a lot. I had always wanted to be a creative writer, and the very first course that I had a carryover, a failure in, I had to repeat that course. That was creative writing taught by Dr. Henry Rotimi Johnson. Oh my God. I was almost running mad. And I know I'm very comfortable with this, but it's the greatest shock that I experienced while in school. And that pressed the reset button in me. You purge whatever you thought you knew in secondary school. When you come to the university, you need to learn and learn, relearn, and unlearn again. That is one big lesson that has really helped me in life. I am always ready to start afresh anywhere I find myself. As Abdul Moise said, I ask questions. In fact, I feel more comfortable listening than speaking. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, thank you very much for that. The question asked by Sister Mocha, who wants to go for it about racism?
I think. Oh no, you go.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, so Sister Ikram, you got there first.
I think sometimes as well, the racism can come from outside of the university because a lot of universities now are becoming city universities. So the buildings and the university resources will be spread out across the city. They just won't all be collected in one place. But if you do experience any type of Islamophobia or abusive vitriol, whatever it is, or you are attacked, I would say always go to three people. The first place is your university. The second people is the police, and then the third place is your ISOC. The reason why I say go to three people is because sometimes the response that you may get from one person may not be the response that is needed and the response that's appropriate, but at least that way you can have options. The ISOC or the chaplaincy can help you in one way, your university can help you in another way, and the police can also help you in a different way as well. So I would say if you ever experience some type of phobia, Islamophobia or abuse, don't sit on it, don't keep it, report it immediately. And if you don't feel comfortable, reporting it by yourself, you can always go to student services or trusted member either from your university society, because university societies are linked to the university. So it's not just students running the society and doing whatever they want. No, they have to follow guidelines. The university has checks and balances that every single committee and, society structure has to abide by. So there will always be someone to go to. So I would say if you don't feel comfortable going to, maybe the police, speak to your ISOC, the head sister of your ISOC, the head brother, or the imam of the ISOC, or the chaplaincy or student services. You can also report things anonymously. Throughout every single campus does have an anonymous hotline. Some of them are specific, so whether it's for sexual assault or abuse or trauma, but there are anonymous helplines that you can report to if you don't feel comfortable going up in person or being, identified, and the university will take course of action and keep you anonymous as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Aziza wanted to have a go as well.
Yeah, I think Sister Ikram has basically said most of what there would be to say about that. But I think one other thing is kind of, even because I know for me, even within the Islamic society, within the ISOC of a lot of universities, I guess it kind of depends on where your university is in the city and like the diversity of it. But I know a lot of places, and I know it was kind of in my experience as well, it's like sometimes you might not find a lot of Black Muslims specifically. So, for example, there might be like a lot of Arab Muslims, a lot of like Asian, like South Asian Muslims, but you don't have that kind of like Black space specifically. So, I think similar to what Sister Ikram was saying, it's kind of like being able to, I guess, give yourself the opportunity to have different spaces for different parts of your identity, quote unquote, so that if you do ever feel uncomfortable or as though like you've been attacked or made to feel uncomfortable in one sense, even if you might feel safe in one sense in one particular area, say if in your ISOC you feel like, okay, say somebody has said something that you found to be like racist in terms of like as to you as a Black person, for example, being able to have another space where you can go to connect with that like part of your identity, I think can be very beneficial, or to kind of, ask for help and those kinds of things. So I think yeah, just
Thank
making
you.
the most of your resources, definitely.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Moise, are you intending to contribute to that?
Yeah, I don't mind. I think some sisters these as well. I thought my power was going to be mentioned regarding facing it within the ISOC. I think especially being a Black Muslim, I tell someone my name. My name's not exactly quite. I don't know, it's not quite English name or anything like that yet. It'd be to this day. People always go smack when I tell them I'm Muslim. Like in terms of my attire, I'm not the type to. I can wear a thobe. I don't mind. I love wearing those, but I don't. It's not always my day to day. I just wear normal clothes and I'll go to the mosque in whatever I'm wearing. So I wouldn't be too. I'm not the type to, I don't know, wear any imam or something like that. I'd go to the mosque how I am, as long as I'm dressing appropriate. But when I've had multiple occasions where I've been around different Muslims, and they'd be surprised that I'm Muslim. We might have prayed together, then I'm asked after we pray, we've made salam together. On multiple occasions I've been in madrasa, people are asking me, when did you convert? All these type of little, like bottom line is ignorance. It's just a lot of ignorance. And no, I guess, sometimes you want to feel bad or not because whether it's the lack of education or lack of exposure, some people generally just never seen Black Muslim before, or some know and they're just, just being ignorant. So I think you have to find confidence in yourself and, could take it to heart too much and use the opportunity for education as well. Some people generally just don't know. So, letting them know that I'm from so and so, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Kenya, I'm from wherever I am, and we have Muslims here, or definitely when did you convert? I've had that more times than I can count my hands. Wallahi, like it's crazy. Multiple occasions, especially like I can, and the thing is that it really doesn't even matter about clothing. I could be in a thobe and someone would ask me as well, oh, yeah, revert, or when did you revert? Just straight away, multiple occasions like that. So letting them know that, you don't have to be Asian or you don't have to be Arab to be Muslim. Like Islam is not a religion for a certain race. It's a universal religion. And, being that educator as well, not taking it to heart because I know it definitely can be disheartening at times, but, understand that people don't know things and people are ignorant. And I feel like once you live your life knowing that people are ignorant, things get better for you because you have less expectations of people as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I cannot see any other hands. Any other questions? Okay, no. I will now ask you for your final comments so that we are getting to round up within the next 5 minutes. We want to round up. So I'll give you 30 seconds each. What are your final comments? What are your final advice to the young people and or the parents? So Sister Azizat.
So I think for me, my big thing is just make the most of your resources. You're going to university largely for the academic side of it, so make sure you engage with the academic side of it. But then also, it's an opportunity to kind of like grow and develop as a person, especially if you're living away from home. Use it as a learning opportunity to learn more about yourself and how you would want to live your life going forward, and kind of go into like that self-development era whilst also learning about whatever it is you're like studying, basically.
Thank you. Abdul Moise.
I'd say just make the most of for the students, make the most of the opportunity of the experience. I think moving out or even just necessarily going to university can be, it's simply what you make it. And I feel like taking as much opportunity as you can in terms of, I'll start academically, making sure that you interact with your teachers as much as you can, interact with your course and do aspire for the highest grade that you can. Making sure you're networking. I think networking, I can't stress that enough, especially in this day and age, it's really quite hard to get jobs. So, you're wanting to secure things like sandwiches, whether it be in a placement or internship, or even spring weeks or shadowing, any sort of work experience. It goes a long way, at this point in time. Just a degree is not a good enough signal for an employer to hire you. You need some sort of experience. So you're making sure you're using that opportunity as much as you can, using your network that's closest to you and far, going to networking events, even traveling to that networking event. You'd be surprised the amount of companies that even pay, some people even pay for your stay, let alone just your travel as well. So making sure you're networking in that sort of aspect as well. And especially, your dean as well. I feel like it's a time to really benefit yourself and making sure that you can be the best version of yourself in terms of, seeking knowledge. Especially, for example, myself, I know I was in Birmingham. I knew there were a lot of Muslims in there. So I knew there were a lot of classes and things to attend there. So making sure that you're using your area to the best of your ability, join the societies we mentioned, join as many societies as you can, and just make the most of the time. And then once again, I definitely say schedule and however you want to make sure you use it. Whether it's writing it down pen and paper, or if it's doing it through different apps. I think as I mentioned, Notion, different, or using notes, using Word, whatever it is, whatever works for you. And I think parents as well, be supportive, remember your child, don't forget your child, and pray for, and prayer as well, remembering Allah as much as you can, praying, using that time to develop your relationship with Allah, pray as much as you can, ask Allah, for the things that you want, go to the mosque, do tahajjud, and just benefit yourself. And parents, once again, don't forget about your child because they miss you. But yeah, I think that's it. That's it.
Thank you. And Sister Ikram.
Yeah, I think just similar to what Sister Ziza and Brother Abdul Muyi said, I would say just stay open-minded, both parents and children, but at the same time hold on to your values and hold on to your religion. There's so many opportunities at university. I literally just thought of one, like you have campus jobs. That's an amazing place to meet different people that if, societies aren't your thing. So just stay open-minded, keep an open mind. But yeah.
Thank you very much, all of you. I took some notes. Somebody did say in the comment section that you all have become experts, and it's so amazing how much we have put together in the last 1 hour. Barakallah faith. So for the young ones that you're going to university this year, you've had it, you've had your dream, you have your dream. But when you get there, when reality strike you on the face, don't get turned off. Don't run away. Re-strategize. Consult. Go to the library. Ask the librarian. Ask your teacher, your lecturers. Ask your peers. Seek internship. Get related or relevant work experience. Okay? Pursue some extracurricular activities. They help you engage, they help you develop soft skills. Stay focused, don't get distracted. Be bold to suggest alternative suggestions. Be a positive peer pressure yourself and get someone, okay, who is also going to be a positive peer pressure on you. Connect to Allah. Know Allah. Use this opportunity to know Allah and to trust Allah and be your own advocate. And for the parents, listen, be supportive, be gentle, be available, and agree contact schedules. Don't just be overbearing. Allow them to have their experience. Allow our young people to have their own experience, but be there to be supportive, be there to be the shoulder they can bring their head on, be there to show understanding. Like our young professional and experts have said today, they've given us advice. Go back and watch this video. Thank you very much, all of you. Please let us raise some money for our mosque. Prof is not here. It doesn't mean that we are not going to raise money. Let us show gratitude to our young ones, our brothers and sisters that have done very well and today. So anybody you want to donate, we have just 1 minute. We are rounding up now. Any donations? Okay.
We have £20 from Wale Hassan.
Hey, £20. I'm going to match that. £20 from me as well, inshallah.
Okay.
Any other donation? Please let us donate towards our mosque.
There is a hand raise. Let me see who that is.
It says Samsung, but then they've dropped their hands.
Okay.
Sorry, Abdul Muiz just put something on the chat where he can be reached for free to reach him for further advice.
Okay. Admaiz has put his linked in there, just in case you want to contact him. Okay. So I'm going to hand over now, but before I hand over,
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Hey, Mama Jikole, wa alaikum salam.
Madam Shams, that's a wonderful one from you today. As always, we thank Almighty Allah, and we thank you for this wonderful job you've done with your children tonight. May Allah, reckon it as an act done to seek His good countenance. I'd like to first express my appreciation like I've done, but I cannot express it too. I cannot overdo it. I'm saying a big thank you to the entire You Who Believ family for the support and the comradeship you offered, during my daughter's wedding over the weekend. So in appreciation of that, I'm going to be, Elijah has asked me to donate 20, and I'll be donating 80 to make it £100.
Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Thank you very much, Imam. May Allah put barakah in the nikah, in all of our children's efforts and progress. Barakallah. Thank you very much, Imam. Okay. So our You Who Believ today. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kulu ma'as sadiqin. You who believe. Fear Allah and be with those who are truthful. Fear Allah and be with those who are truthful. When you go to uni, be with those who are truthful. When you are alone and you have social media friends, make sure you are with those who are truthful. Will be positive peer pressure on you. May Allah make it easy for all of us. May Allah accept all our efforts as ibadah. Thank you to everyone who has donated today, those who have listened, those who have stayed with us, and those who will be watching this video in future. May Allah bless you and grant you greater outcome. May Allah make you earn greater rewards from today's session. May Allah bless all of our children, all of our young ones, my brothers and sisters that have participated today, and those who are working in the background. May Allah bless you all. I now hand over to our our anchor, Sister Aisha Eletu. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah, 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 Rabbil Alameen. That brings us to the end of another successful session. I would like to thank all three of the panelists for all of their amazing contributions. May Almighty Allah continue to reward you and bless you, and also reward all of us for listening. This is a reminder to save the date for our global conference fundraiser event scheduled for Saturday, September 6th at East London Mosque. Entry is specifically by registration. However, we have provided a link to join the session online. You can contact the Secretariat for the joining link and account details to send your donations. We require volunteers for the September 6th Global Conference and fundraising. Kindly fill the online form and be part of this rewarding experience. This is inviting you to join Muslim Association of Nigeria, UK. It's a place for all of us. There's still time to enroll your children at Maracas while slots are still available. We acknowledge your launch good donations and direct debit towards the Mosque Rebuild project. Remember to appropriately reference your payments. Keep the Facebook comments active and share our broadcast and like the page. You can also volunteer your time, skills, and connections to complete our masjid and community rebuild project. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
fúru ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ ní kìyàwó mà la ṣe ń fọ rere ìdásítọ̀ lọ́hùn lára Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center London tó wà lábẹ́ àkóso àgbáríjọpọ̀ àwọn mùsùlùmí orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà tó ń gbé ní UK ṣe ń pe gbogbo ayé síbi àpérò ńlá àti ìkówójọ láti lè fi rọgùn ìdàgbàsókè fún kíkọ́ mọ́ṣáláṣí títàn mọ́lẹ̀ ìtànkálẹ̀ ẹ̀sìn àti ìrọ̀gùn ọ̀la tó nítumọ̀ fúngbé ayé wa tá a fi jèrè ọ̀run láṣẹ lu àǹfààní láti ṣèkówójọ ní mílíọ̀nù £3 £3 million fún píparí abala kejì àyè tó lámì alága ayẹyẹ ni His Eminence Sheikh Dr. Khalifa Muhammad Sanusi Sanusi kejì Emir tìlú Kano gbogbo àwọn lóko lókì àwọn olókoòwò ńlá àwọn ọ̀mọ̀wé lọ́balọ́ba tó ń torí adé àwọn olóṣèlú àtàwọn aṣáájú agbègbè tó fi mọ́ àwọn ọ̀jìnmí onímọ̀ yíká orílẹ̀ ayé láti fìwé pè sátidé ọjọ́ kẹfà oṣù kẹsàn-án September 6th 2025 ní ó wáyé ní East London Mosque 82-92 Whitechapel Road London E1 1JQ aago 10 òwúrọ̀ lè tó gbéra sọ títí di aago 4 ìrọ̀lẹ́ àwọn olùbánisọ̀rọ̀ ọjọ́ náà ní ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Isaac Ọlárẹ̀wájú Olóyèdé CONCFR akọ̀wé àgbàjọ tó ga jù fún ètò Islam lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs títúnṣe ọ̀gá àgbàjọ JAMB Professor Sheikh Abdulhakeem Murad founder and dean of the Cambridge Muslim College Dr. Muhammad Wajid Akhtar Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain MCB Councillor Yasmin Dar Councillor and former Lord Mayor of Manchester City Council Dr. Abdulhakeem Abdullateef Honourable Yepe Ìmáàmù àgbà mọ́ṣáláṣí ńlá ilé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó lọ́jọ́ iná ilẹ̀tún ṣalábàápàdé Professor Mashood Baderi láti School of Oriental and African Studies London tí wọ́n jẹ́ resident Islamic consultant fún ẹgbẹ́ Muslim Association of Nigeria UK olùgbàlejò àgbà ní Mr. Jelil Ọládẹ̀jọ Honourable President Muslim Association of Nigeria UK àǹfààní lálẹ́ yìí jẹ́ láti kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kópa àti dídásí kíkọ́ mọ́ṣáláṣí ilé Olúwa léyìí tẹ̀sán rẹ̀ ò ní àṣìyè méjì ju àlìjọ́nnà lọ ẹ lọ forúkọ sílẹ̀ lónìí ní Eventbrite láti mẹ̀kó kẹ́kẹ́ àlàyé ẹ kàn sí alága ìgbìmọ̀ ayẹyẹ Professor Ismail Adelọ́pọ̀ lórí 0790-733-4953 kẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ojúkọ àjọ secretariat@manuk.org ẹjẹ́ àjọ ṣèrànwọ́ láti parí mọ́ṣáláṣí Old Kent Road tí í ṣe àyè ìjọsìn àti àṣẹ ẹ̀sìn tiwa ni mọ́ṣáláṣí yìí ṣe ẹjẹ́ àjọ ṣègbélárugẹ agbègbè lónìí torí ọ̀la àrọ̀rùn jazakumullahu khaira.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما